My first week as the co-chair of the OSAC Council, it was actually in Baghdad, where we had decided we wanted to meet with the country council to send a message. I think Secretary Clinton was interested in establishing a clear message that we were, in fact, corporate America was indeed open for business. And we had this aha experience that as vital and active as some of these councils were, they were in many instances being advanced on the shoulders of and at the personal expense of these RSOs and others who were committed to the mission and vision of what OSAC could provide, and we're demonstrating that through their personal contributions.
I recall in 2010, the Research and Information Support Center staff coming to me and asking if ConocoPhillips would sponsor a crisis management conference. So in order for them to put on a conference, they actually had to go out and find a corporate sponsor. Later on in April of 2010, I got a call from Waleed Shader. And Waleed was the Middle East, North Africa security manager for ConocoPhillips. And he called me up and he said, asked me if I'd like to speak at a regional conference that they were going to put on in Doha. While I was there, there were 5 RSOs who flew in and they presented as part of a panel. And on the final day, I had breakfast with them. And I kind of got the sense that there was something that wasn't being said. And so finally, I asked them point blank, how many of you have used your personal funds to pay for an OSAC Country Council meeting? Every hand went up. And it struck me that that was wrong on so many levels, that here it was, they were performing a public service, they were helping the private sector, and yet they were being forced to pay for this themselves. I talked to DWG, and I know that we kicked around ideas for solutions, and the idea of a 501c3 nonprofit that would fund things like this, that would have the ability to contract with hotels, be responsible for the payment of costs incurred for catering and things like that, was what emerged.
I was part of the EWG during these discussions, and I think is outlined the challenges for the RSOs, the country councils were great. The resources of corporate America were also great. And I think what EWG, Jim Hutton, John McClurg, and led by Jim Snyder did was look at how could we support those country councils, the RSO, the program, so our outreach would continue on a more cohesive, comprehensive basis. The contribution Target Corporation was able to make was our background was in public-private partnerships and other types of foundations and entities. We were able to bring in some external resources to help set it up from a governance standpoint. Jim led on the 501c3. And then we were actually honored to bring in Peggy O'Neill, who became the executive director.
We had a number of directives from assistant secretaries to establish a certain number of councils with a certain health score, if you will. So that was really important. And one of the things that came back from that business case building was our need for better engagement. And the resounding channel about engagement was having the flexibility to host, schedule, and create these kinds of events that the ISF ultimately was a funding vehicle for, and continues to this day to be the significant contributor to that effort. And then to see this new thing called ISF blossom and become part of the nomenclature. It's ISF now, and it is part of the shorthand, and it's recognized, respected, and accessed for the purposes that we all saw for it.
It occurred to me that there's just a number of very serendipitous events that came together just the right time at the right place with the right individuals that enabled all this to come together and to become a reality.